All right. Okay, well, welcome to the Employability Skills Series, where we look at the top skills employers are looking for in candidates. Each week, we look at a different topic with different professionals from a variety of industries. I am your host, Megan Morrow, Senior Associate Director of Experiential Learning and Employer Relations. And today I have Jessica Brown, who is the Promotions Director of 97 Country, My Max Music, and Talk 96.7. Jessica Brown serves as the promotion director for those three stations in Lakeland, Florida, where she manages contests, events, marketing initiatives, and community involvement across three local radio stations. I just lost my thing. Her role includes coordinating on-air promotions, planning large-scale events, and building meaningful partnerships through in-kind partnerships and outreach communities. A graduate of University of Tampa with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications and minor in Dance and Theater, Jessica has always had a passion for planning and organizing, skills she's honed through years of experience in radio and leadership roles. She continues to stay current and inspired by attending industry seminars such as Country Radio Seminar and Country Cares for St. Jude. Deeply involved in her community, Jessica has served with the Junior League of Greater Lakeland in multiple capacities, including as president 2021 and 2020 to 2021, and has volunteered with the United Way of Central Florida St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and Highland Park Church. Her contributions have earned her recognition, including the Heart of the League Award and Hall Communications Pat Bannerman, I hope I said that right,
Banana
Morgan
Man.
Banana Man, okay, Morgan Extra League Award. Outside of work, Jessica enjoys traveling, all things Disney, movies, concerts, reading, and keeping up with her nieces and nephews. In 2023, she also began a new adventure as travel agent, combining her love of organization and travel to help others plan memorable getaways. So, welcome, Jessica. Thank you so much for being here. And students who are joining the call, please make sure that you either scan the QR code that's on the screen that you see or click the link I put in the chat pod for you so that you can get your attendance counted. All right, Jessica, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you would like us to know about you before we get started?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having me. Thank you so
All
much for
right.
having me.
Yeah, great. This is awesome. No, and also too, Jessica spoke in one of my classes. So for anybody that was in class with her, that you spoke in, she should look a little familiar to you guys. All right, so Jessica, also too, I take notes when my guests are here, so that's what I'll be kind of doing if you see me kind of looking down. But let's talk about organization. Can you like just kind of tell me about like your take on organization and why is this important?
So I I will say like I've always like I was very involved in high school and then in college I had college and then like three or four part-time jobs at a time. So in order to keep everything, I was like keep all the balls in the air. I figured out that I had to be have a system. I'm a very like system oriented person anyways, but I had to create kind of a way of keeping everything in check and knowing that I was getting all the tasks accomplished and I was where I needed to be when I needed to be there. And that's kind of permeated throughout my entire life. It probably started, I would say like middle school and then has just continued. Um, and it's sort of funny because I find that people who don't have some sort of organizational system, just in their planning, I'm like people will be like, oh yeah, I'll be there at 3 o'clock on, and I'm like, okay, are you gonna write that down? Like, I don't know how you operate. Some people do,
Mhm.
but I have found that they don't always do it very successfully. That there has to be some sort of organization, especially when you're busy. Like we're all just so busy all the time that there has to be some method to the madness. And in my job, with all the different things I'm doing, I have to have a way of keeping it all on track.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you're in charge of three different radio stations.
Mhm.
So I can
Yes.
only imagine that you've got so much going on all at once. I mean,
Yep.
how do you keep it all in order? So what is your system? Do you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely. So I will say it started way back, like I said, in like middle school and junior high, like having the perfect planner. And I know that sounds so dorky, but I was the kid who my mom and I went all over town trying to find like the planner, the agenda that worked for my needs. And then once I found the perfect one, I kept with that entire system all throughout high school and college. Um, and then like I'll kind of like show you. So I have multiple planners, and I'm not saying everyone has to be like as crazy as I am, but like I have my little agenda, you might be able to see that it's like
Hmm.
it's color coded. I
Yeah.
know when I'm looking, like if it's teal, it's work. If it's, bright pink, it's junior league. If it's, oh gosh, if it's a certain color pink, it's friends. If it's navy, it's my family. Like that's just how I operate. And then I have three planners. Again, you don't have to be as crazy as I am, but I actually use a teacher planner for work
Okay.
because like there's different aspects of my job. Um, and I'm all about checklists. Like I go through every single week and be like, okay, what do I have to do this week? And then because a lot of my stuff is on deadlines, I also use like an accordion folder. And I feel like this could work a lot for college kids too. Like I have an accordion folder that has like the upcoming dates
Oh, okay.
so that I know like when something is due, I put it in that date and that way I can keep it organized. Um, and just over the years, I've sort of like almost perfected the system to keep everything on track because there's a lot of lists, a lot of checklists, having this thing so that I know what needs to come next.
No, I like it. I like it a lot, especially when you've got so much going on. I'm very similar. I have two children, and I have one, he's off in boot camp right now. He's in the military, so I don't have to quite keep track of him so much as I did before. But when they're going off doing their separate things, I've got, one's going, to wrestling or one's going to swimming or, so I had the same thing. I had a calendar and we were color coded too. One was red, one was purple, and then same thing. I had if it was a family thing, it was orange. If it was work, it was blue or something like that,
Mhm.
just so that it kind of draw my eye to it as well. I'm very similar to you, Jessica. I'm
Yeah,
very organized. I write everything down. I have a work calendar. I have a personal calendar, and the nature of my job is mostly 8 to 5,
right,
but there are things that happen outside of work. For example, this Sunday, I'm going to be here on campus doing a presentation for some of our student leaders. That's going to be several hours. So I had to put that on my personal calendar to make sure that I didn't plan something, because Sunday's typically my personal time.
right, right.
But I had to make sure I crossed it over into that. And same thing too. If I have a doctor's appointment, I have to put that on my work calendar so that I make sure I don't have any, work appointments. So I think it's really important for our students to understand too, because they have multiple classes, and I'm not the only professor that's assigning homework.
Right,
I'm not or we have athletes and they have classes and they have practices and they have games, or if they're in dance or, if they clubs or organizations, this stuff doesn't just stay in your head. It's got to
right.
get some type of system. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, and I've found that like yes, like your phone calendar is helpful and everything does still go in my phone, but I've found that if I'm not like seeing it on like a cat like an actual written out calendar, it gets muddled in my head. Like I'm not sure when is what. Like it might be in there and I'll definitely get the reminders whenever, it's time, but yeah, you have to have, I feel like writing things down and then being able to see it in a written like spread is going to help cement it in there a little bit better. So I know that, we all love our phones and I definitely use mine as like a backup, but like just a paper, even if it's just a sheet of paper that you've printed off with a calendar, that you can find for free online,
Mhm.
um, will help you a ton. Just to be able to kind of like organize it in your head a little bit better.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I know that this particular generation, they call them the digital natives. I mean, they've grown
Right.
up with, technology. But just, I mean, like even on my phone, I mean, doesn't matter how big your phone is. I mean, it's hard to see an entire week or an entire month all at once. So same thing here. I have stuff on my phone, so it gives me the reminders. I get the bling bling or something like that, it
Yeah.
lets me know. But to be able to look at it, to see it a month out, I can see it. I'm like you. I'm a checklist person. I get great satisfaction of being able to cross something off. I know that I've completed it. Like you, when I was in college, I had the planner. I still do because I'm in grad school. So
Mhm.
I write everything out every week and then I can cross my day off. And it just gives
Yep.
me great satisfaction. Like I know I did that discussion post. I know I did that response. I turned in that paper and then I can cross it off. And then I'm like, okay, whew, I can go on to
Yep.
the next thing. Yeah. Um,
And
Go
like
ahead.
checklists don't always have to be completed every single week or day, but it helps to know that it's there and you can move it on to the next one.
Hmm.
So just because it's not checked off, because most of the time my week does not get fully checked off, but at least I know what's upcoming and I have it there. Like if I have the time to get ahead on something, it's there to remind me. And if not, like I know when things are due. Because I mean, we all have deadlines, regardless of whether you're a student or an employee.
No, I think that's a valid point that it's okay if it doesn't get to everything, just move it over to the next day. I think
Mhm.
that's a valid point. I'd like to ask you, could you think of a time where maybe somebody, whether it's you or maybe somebody on your team or somebody, where maybe they weren't very organized, maybe they kind of maybe dropped the ball or something like that, and how did that negatively impact you or your team? And what was the kind of ramifications of that?
So, yes, I have found, so I work in radio, obviously, and we have an entire sales team. And I have found that most salespeople don't tend to be super organized. They may have their little systems, but um, they're just not the best at keeping organized. And so, well, again, we have our checks and balances, but if they don't initiate the proper channels, then there's no way to check or balance them. And I mean, we've had situations where um they may like because we have a whole system for like our contests and our events and stuff like that. And there have been times where I'm going to use an example. Let's just say Publix. Publix has purchased a remote broadcast where we go out to that Publix and we broadcast for a few hours from that location. And so we have what we call our remote calendar. And but then they have to put in the order, and that's a different system. That's a different program that they have to put in. So it ends up on the radio. So it ends up in our like traffic system. And it's not uncommon for remotes to get moved, especially when it's like a big company like Publix or McDonald's. And we've had it where the salesperson has put in the original remote, it got changed, and they may have changed the order so that the billing and all of that, but they didn't change it on the remote calendar. And so we've had people show up to a location on the wrong day
Oh
or
no.
the wrong location or both. And it's a waste of our time, it's a waste of our
Mhm.
resources. Um, and the ramifications of that is that like it costs the company money because you still have to pay the people that showed up. We look like idiots because we look like we don't have our act together.
Mhm.
And the store is like, I don't know why you're here. We are not, our grand opening isn't for another month. So, like it's frustrating when stuff like that happens because it's one person's fault, really. But somehow, they're like, oh, well, you guys showed up at the wrong time. No, we showed up when the calendar told us to.
Yeah.
You have to initiate that. And just recently we had a remote that was being moved and our one of our people was trying to say like he kept telling me like, hey, I think it's being moved. And I'm like, that's great, but you're not the salesperson.
Hmm.
And the salesperson has to move it before it gets moved on like the salesperson has to move it on the calendar, not me. Um, so that's a pretty like I would say big example. Or we've had salespeople who, and I'm picking on the salespeople, but they're like the easiest to pick on. Um, where we have like studio space and we have clients who are recording like their talk shows or their podcasts and um again we have systems for doing that, and the salesperson was really famous for just being like, oh yeah, like you can come in at this time, but not checking to make sure that like the studio is free or that there was somebody that was going to be there to record it. And we've had clients show up and there was either the studio was booked, so there was no place for them to record, or they hadn't let them know like it was free, but there was nobody to actually like hit the buttons, and like there was no engineer
Mhm.
technician for it. Um, so it's not just like if you can keep you, it's not just you keeping organized, it's also making sure that your communication is proper because
Yeah.
you won't, very few of us work in silos.
No, oh, those are great examples. I'm thinking of one as you're talking now. Just earlier this week on Monday, I took a group of students to Catapult, and there was some type of lack of communication. The person that normally, takes care of everything, I guess, was on vacation, and we didn't have a shuttle. And yeah, and so there was a little bit of scramble, and so I ended up taking students in my car, which was fine. But then there were students who were like, "Oh, I thought I was going. I thought I missed the shuttle." So some drove themselves, and I think some missed out because they were like, "Oh, I didn't see the shuttle, so I just didn't go." And so with that lack of organization, some missed out
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to stuff six students in my car, so at least six got to go. So I mean, we were able to scramble and make some of it work, but like you said, like you kind of look like you don't have your act together. You kind of look
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, doesn't flow like it should. Where especially when you planned ahead, like I was organized, I put in the
Right.
request for the shuttle, I planned ahead, I made sure that the person at Catapult was prepared to receive us for the tour, but now we were running late because I was, at the other place trying to get the shuttle, running around like, crazy, like, hey, where's the shuttle? And they're trying to track it down, trying to make it right, but I'm like, I gotta
Right.
go, I got people waiting and I got somebody else waiting, because it's like, time was like we were
Mm-hmm.
on a time crunch, and I'm also thinking about students, and I'm sure students that are on the call can probably attest to that. When you're not organized, you don't write stuff down or you forget because things can and do happen. You miss a deadline for an assignment, and that can bring your grade down, depending on what the assignment policy is for that particular class. If the assignment closes or is late, that can drastically bring down your grade, and that hurts, especially when it's an easy assignment or you have it and you just forgot to turn it in or something like that. So stuff like that can have some lasting impact when you are not organized.
Organized. Well, and even like, so I think I mentioned during like the end of college and then right after college, I had like, depending on the time of year, three or four part-time jobs. And so I would literally, because like that means you've also got income from three or four different locations. And so I would, on my planner, like I'd make notes of like how much I was supposed to earn from the different shifts that I was doing. Because otherwise, like I think there was one time that it was like a last minute situation. So it wasn't in my planner. I think I was a fill-in, but then I didn't get paid for it. And I was like,
Oh
hold
no.
on. You know what I mean? Like they rectified it, but had I not caught it,
Yes.
like I would have basically been volunteering. So it's just one of those things that it's always helpful to have it, you know, written out so that you can, and I mean, again, there's the digital way of doing things, and that's always a great backup. But there is something about a pen to paper that I don't know, I think it just helps make things clearer, and a little bit more organized.
I think so too. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you and I are kindred spirits on this topic because I'm the same way. But I'm glad you brought up money because I think that is something that everybody can relate to.
Mhm.
Students, especially when you start working and you are responsible for paying your own bills, maybe for the first time. where, the rent is on you or the mortgage or your car payment and the electric bill and everything. Because I know I've been there, same with you, Jessica. I worked, sometimes 3 and 4 jobs, and you have to, first of all, you have to know where you're going, what time you're supposed to be there, especially when you're working multiple jobs. And there is a saying that if you don't budget to spend your money will spend itself. And if you don't know
Hmm.
exactly what's coming in and what's going out, you will find that it goes out a lot faster than you plan it to go out. And then at the end of the month, you're like, oh my gosh, where's my money? I don't have enough money to pay this bill or that bill. And that is not a fun feeling at all,
No.
to be like, what am I going to do? I did not plan, I did not organize, and now I have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And again,
Hmm.
that's not fun.
No,
And how are you going to pay your mortgage, or how are you going to pay your rent? Because those companies don't care about
they
your,
do not.
yeah, they don't care that you weren't organized at all. They're going to be like, tough noogies, we want our money, or you got to go.
Right. Or yeah, Ford wants their money. They either want their money or they want my car back.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
don't care. Yeah, they do
they
not
do not
care. They
care.
do not care about your sob story. They do not care about what you're, if you're going through anything. They don't care, and they make no apologies for that, because you signed a contract saying that you would pay this money every month. And then if you choose not to for whatever reason, then you're going to get hit with fees and fees and fees, and it's going to cost you even
Yeah.
more. So there can be literally financial ramifications that could follow you and haunt you if you are not
Mhm.
organized. That is
Yeah.
something huge. Um,
And
Go
sorry.
ahead.
And ironically, I will say that money is an area where I do tend to lean on digital a little bit more. I use a service called You Need a Budget. And you do have to pay for it, but it links with your accounts. And so you literally see every single penny that you've spent or that's come into your accounts. Um, and so that's helpful. But I also have a spreadsheet that I use every month so that like I can put in my like check and then where everything's going, like what I need to pay and it so that I'm not having to do the math all the time.
Hmm.
And that way I'm making sure I'm not overdrawing my account or like that I'm paying things on time. So that is an area where when it comes to finances, I do think that technology is a great place to lean. Um, so that again, like it just helps take away some of the mental math for you. So you need a budget.com. It does cost money. I think it's like $109 a year.
Okay.
But it's super helpful
I think that's
because
great. Yeah, I never heard of that.
you're like, where did that $5? Oh yeah, I did get a coffee that day. Like it helps you. You can set your budget, set like your goals, um, and just sort of know where your money is going.
I think that's super important, because you just don't realize, yeah, that $7, latte, or, that drive-through McDonald's, that, because it's not, where did the value menu go? That's, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I hardly do fast food, but occasionally if we're, in a pinch or whatever, like if I grab something from my son and I, it's like $13. And I'm like, we just got, some chicken nuggets and fries, and oh my gosh, it's 13
Yeah.
bucks. Or we order pizza. We ordered pizza, just a pizza. That was it. With delivery. And we just got cheese too. We didn't even get a specialty pizza. It was Papa John's. We did this over this past weekend. Pizza, and I get the extra pepperoncinis because I love the spice. And it was just cheese pizza, and it was $40.
Oh my gosh, that makes
I know.
me like
Yeah. I was
but
like,
like, and
oh my gosh.
well, remember, I mean, we're gonna like I'm aging us, but
Oh,
remember when like you could get any size drink at McDonald's for $1,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
now it's like 250, and I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I just want my extra large Diet Coke. Come on.
I know we are dating ourselves. The students are like, yeah, whatever, you dinosaurs, but like, whatever. But no, I think that this is such an important topic. I know we're starting to come up on time here, but this is such an important topic, especially around money. I'm glad we kind of veered down towards that path right there, because you just don't realize it. And I know I have. I went through a very tough phase, especially in my early 20s, when I was on my own for the first time, and I was paying my own bills, and I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was making my own money, and I was like, oh, okay. I had my own apartment for the first time, and Back then I had a one bedroom apartment for $600, which, oh my gosh, can you imagine nowadays?
Them's the days.
I know, right? I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. So I had my own apartment, I was going out to eat, yeah, because I didn't cook. I mean, I rarely cook now. But it's like, I didn't cook, so I was going out to eat all the time. I was going out with my friends, I didn't have two nickels to rub together. And the next thing I knew, I had this $10,000 credit card debt because, I was like, oh yeah, just, charge it because
Yeah.
I didn't have any money. I was only making like 22,000 because I was a social worker in my first
Right.
life, so I wasn't making any money. But yeah, so don't do that. Learn from our experiences, guys. It's very important to be organized. Be organized in your schoolwork, be organized with your money, be organized
Mhm.
with your time, because that's the one thing you can never get back. I mean,
Yeah.
I was able to get out of debt, by being organized. And of course, that was a lifetime ago, but you can never get time back.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly like the most precious commodity we have. Like your time is worth something. It's your time is money. So sometimes like you're like, it's more worth it to me to order that pizza to be delivered than it is to take the time to go get it. But sometimes it may be worth it. Your time might be worth more. So you just have to like, it's all commodities, but your time is the most important one. So, and if
Absolutely.
you're organized with it, you can make good use of it.
Absolutely. Well, Jessica, do you have what are your parting words for us? I mean, I think the time piece was pretty impactful, but what are your parting words?
I just think that like I know that those of you that are going off into the world, when I had just started my job, I had someone who was in the music industry and gave me the idea, like we used to have like my role, but for another radio station. And he was like, oh yeah, I used to have all these calendars and we would do this. And that was sort of like where it clicked. So like find your system, find what works. Now my system has changed or not really changed, but evolved with technology and different ways of doing things. Um, but find your systems and improve them and get it to the point where, like right now, I can do the same job that I was doing 16 years ago, but in a lot less time because I'm much more efficient with it. Like work smarter, not harder.
Mhm.
And if you can be organized and have good systems in place, then you are working smarter and not harder. You can be more efficient and that gives you more time to live your life more meaningfully.
I like that. I like that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your thoughts and your insights, Jessica. And students, thank
Absolutely.
you for giving your time as well. Please again make sure that you have scanned the code that's on the screen for you, or that you click the link in the chat pod if you're joining us on your phone, so that you can get your attendance marked. Thank you again, the Employability Skills Series. I love it. Jessica, thank you again. Everybody, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.